and welcome to the Business Standard Morning Show. I'm Kanishka Gupta. Let's have a look at the stories for the day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the new Parliament building on Sunday, May 28th, 2 days after completing 9 years in office and just months before he faces general elections. So, as the seat of power shifts from the iconic Parliament building to the new one a couple of blocks away, Tushar Verma offers a peek into exactly how it was built, who built it, and why was it needed. Let's listen in.
Generations of Indians have grown up wowed by the grandeur of the circular Parliament House. Amid boycott from oppositions, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the new triangular Parliament building on Sunday, May 28th, that has more space, better structural safety, and latest communication infrastructure. The idea that the country needs a new seat of power was thought of during the UPA government in 2012. In 2019, 6 designs for the new parliament were submitted by different architectural firms of the country. The proposal of Ahmedabad-based HCP Design Planning and Management was selected. In the past, it had designed the iconic Sabarmati riverfront. Construction began in 2020. Let's turn to Professor P.S.N. Rao, who was the chairman of the jury of architects that selected the design of the new parliament building, for some interesting insights about the proposed designs.
There was an open jury that was conducted some time ago. We evaluated all these 6 proposals. In fact, the architects were also given a free hand to decide on the location of the building. Somebody wanted the parliament building to be put somewhere near the sea hexagon, very close to the India Gate. Somebody wanted the parliament building to be located right at the central part of the central vista, where the beating the retreat ceremony takes place. So when the President of India comes, actually the President of India has to do a turnaround. So that was also found not appropriate. So there were several issues in the various proposals that were given by various architects. All of them were equally eminent.
7 companies submitted bids for construction. Out of them, L&T, Tata Projects and Shapoorji Pallonji were shortlisted. In the final opening bid, only Tata and L&T participated. The bid amount of Rs 862 crores by Tata Projects won the contract. Contracts of only 2 projects, the new Parliament building and the Central Vista project, have been awarded so far. The tendered cost of the Parliament building is Rs 862 crore and that of Central Vista is 477 crore. Estimated cost of the entire Central Vista project now stands at 20,000 crore rupees. So, what do experts say about the need for the new Parliament building? Here's what the veteran architect believes.
The existing Parliament building, by and large, it has outlived its life. The building plaster has also been peeling off over the last several decades. It's quite dangerous to occupy such a building, such a large number of people sitting in that kind of a building where the plaster is peeling off from the roof. And several air conditioners, cables, Wi-Fi wires, all kinds of wiring that has been done over a period of time, that has also made the building rather fatigued. The other reason is the furniture inside which is there is also aging, and lastly, it doesn't provide office space for the parliamentarians.
The old Parliament building, on the other hand, was constructed in 1927, designed by Sir Edwin Lutyens and Sir Herbert Baker. It was then repurposed after independence to house the elected representatives of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The circular building was not designed to be a bicameral parliament. Its seating capacity was limited to 545 parliamentarians in the Lok Sabha and 440 seating capacity in the Central Hall for joint sessions. The old building was built at a cost of 83 lakh rupees starting from 1921 to 1927. Lakshman Das, a prominent contractor from Sindh, is known to have assisted in the building the first Parliament House. Along with 5 prominent Sikh builders such as Sobha Singh, he was invited to the Delhi Darbar of December 1911, where the transfer of capital from Calcutta to Delhi was announced. The new building in comparison is spacious. It can seat up to 888 MPs in Lok Sabha, 384 MPs in Rajya Sabha, and for joint sessions, the capacity of Lok Sabha can be increased to 1,272 seats. Like the old Parliament building, the new one is also built with red sandstones brought from Rajasthan. Let's return to architect Rao for more about the new Parliament building.
It is built with modern materials, steel and concrete, and it has a much larger capacity. It represents aspirational India in terms of the interiors, the fabrics that have been chosen, the other paintings and other exhibits that are going to be put up on display. They represent various parts of India. They represent the diversity of Indian culture.
And the winds of change sweeping over central Delhi are not without their share of criticism as well. Critics called it vanity project and at least 19 political parties boycotted the inauguration ceremony of the new building. The criticism was it should have been inaugurated by the President of India and not the Prime Minister. What does such opposition and criticism tell us about the present political scenario and what does it mean in the broader historical context?
What I would really like to see in the new parliament building is that irrespective of parties which participated in the inauguration or parties which boycott, when a parliamentary session happens, all of them, come together and it leads to a fruitful discussion. There is a spirit of accommodation, there is a spirit of consensus, and things get debated. The second thing is around, how do we make sure the new parliamentary building becomes a people's institution? How can people have more of a say in engaging with the institution? How can the institution and the new building be more accessible?
As the old Parliament House is nearing a century, the new edifice was long overdue. Political bickering aside, the new building stands tall as manifestation of country's democratic ethos, bypassing the vestiges of colonial past.
From the seat of power for the world's largest democracy, let us turn our gaze to the world's highest peak. But it is no longer lonely out there. During the season, the Mount Everest is brimming with climbers rushing past each other to reach the summit. The peak is also a pillar for Nepal's economy. So if you are also planning to hit the mountain trail, Tariq Ahmed's report will for sure come handy. It tells how much money and time you will need, apart from a sound health, to climb the Everest.
It is in the bucket list of many, but only a few lucky ones manage to gather the courage and the resources to reach Mount Everest, where the air is thin and ground treacherous. It has been 70 years since Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary first reached the Everest peak, about 8,848 meters above sea level. And since May 29th of 1953, at least 6,338 people have reached the top. In Nepal, Everest is called Sagarmatha. In Tibet, they call it Chomolungma. So far, trekkers have found 18 routes to climb Everest, but only 2 of them are the most established. They are the South Col route from Nepal and Northeast Ridge route from Tibet. But due to the Chinese permit restrictions and higher fatality rates, the Northeast Ridge route from Tibet is not popular with the commercial operators. The overall expedition in the South Pole route takes about 2 months. Climbers travel to Everest Base Camp or EBC and stay there for about 50 days. During this period, the climbers trek back and forth between the base camp and camps 1, 2, and 3, which are above the base camp. The idea is to acclimatize them before they go for the final peak.
And then it takes only 5 days actually to do the summit push. 5 or 6 days maximum climbers take, depending on the weather condition. If your weather is good, then you can do the summit push in one go, and one go as in 5 days and come back.
Nepal is home to 8 of the 14 peaks, which are taller than 8,000 meters. And the revenue that is coming from the climbing expeditions and adventure tourism is one of the mainstays of Nepal's economy. Its government issues over 400 permits to climbers from across the world every year. In the 2023 spring season alone, the Nepal government received 650 million Nepalese rupee from the permits. On an average, a climber spends close to 20 to 60 lakhs during the expedition, depending on quality of facilities you need. First is the cost of a permit, which is around 11,000 USD for non-Nepalese citizens. Then, liaison officer charges and Khumbu icefall charge takes the cost to around 13,000 USD per individual. The equipment needed for the expedition costs around 7,000 to 8,000 USD. The other major expense is hiring a Sherpa, who plays a crucial role as a guide.
But the salary what paid to the Sherpa who climbed 15-16 times and the Sherpa who climbed 4-5 times is different. That starts about from 4 lakhs to 15 lakhs.
As there is a chance for evacuations due to emergencies, insurance is a must, and it costs around 1,000 USD to 2,000 USD per individual. Then there are costs for setting up camps and kitchens, providing food, and carrying all the gadgets from camps to camps. Another important expenditure is the cost of oxygen cylinders. New oxygen refillable cylinders can cost anything around 350 USD. On an average, a person needs 6 oxygen cylinders and a Sherpa needs 4 oxygen cylinders for one expedition. These costs are all taken care of by the private operators. That includes getting a permit, finding Sherpa, providing camping, food, insurance, and oxygen cylinders.
So overall, for Indians, as of now, the Nepal market is offering somewhere between 22 lakhs to 25 lakhs in Indian rupees. That's the lower side. See, that's a basic services. I mean, the standard service, what we call. From this, there is a luxury segment. It goes up to $110,000 also. So that is like how many Sherpas they're expecting, what kind of facility and service they're expecting in the base camp. Depending on that, the amount, payments and everything would be there. There are certain expeditions where would led by the Western climbers also. So they also charge about $50,000 to $60,000, where the Western leader would be there with the team.
Climbing Mount Everest is getting expensive each year, but that doesn't seem to prevent people from summiting the highest point on Earth. Out of the 463 permits assigned this spring, 40 are from India.
This is the month when weather is clear in the Himalayas for climbers trying to reach the Everest peak. Moving on, this time the month of May has proved to be volatile for the Indian equity markets. So how long will the range-bound movement continue amid volatility? Puneet Wadhwa caught up with Nilesh Shah, Group President and MD Kotak Mahindra AMC, on how he sees the markets playing out over the next few weeks and his interpretation of the recent SEBI norms for the mutual fund industry.
Hello and welcome to the show. I am Puneet Wadhwa, and today we have with us Nilesh Shah, Group President and MD at Kotak Mahindra AMC. Hello, Nilesh, and welcome.
Thank you, Puneet Bhai, for having me over here.
The markets are enjoying themselves, swinging in the 60s since quite some time now. Is this dancing around with a clear direction making you nervous as a fund manager now?
And we are hitting a sweet spot in market where there are more buyers. It's domestic mutual funds who continue to get SI flows, whether it's insurance companies who continue to get premium income, retail and high net worth individuals who are now looking at equity far more positively, and foreign portfolio investors. The supply from IPO, QIP, OFS divestment has not yet begun. And hence, we are in a sweet spot where limited buying is positively impacting stock prices. More importantly, we are not very far away from fundamentals. We continue to remain reasonably priced, neither too expensive nor too cheap. Now, will market be looking at election result? Answer is undoubtedly yes, but they'll be more focused on FY24 central election rather than state election. One eye of the market will undoubtedly on the outcome of election 24, and it will remain a factor which will impact market movement.
So, as you recently said, the markets have entered a Rahu Kaalam. When do you see this Rahu Kaalam ending now?
My comment was that India's Rahu Kaalam starts when oil prices go higher. As of today, oil prices are in double digit, and hence we can legitimately say that our Rahu Kaalam has ended.
Okay.
In fact, this time, by importing Russian oil at a cheaper price, we have ensured that the impact of Rahu is meaningfully nullified.
So SEBI has come out with a lot of new norms for the MF industry to comply with. Do you think that the MF industry is being overregulated?
See, essentially, today mutual fund industry is 40 lakh crore in AUM and 3.75 crore unique investors. That's because we are well regulated. If we were a Ponzi scheme, which will be unregulated, we'll have our shot in the sun for a while and then we will disappear. So there can never ever be a dispute about over or under regulation. We owe our existence because we are well regulated. Second, SEBI has an open door policy. Whenever they come out with regulation, it is discussed with industry in mutual fund advisory committee, outside of mutual fund advisory committee, through public consultation. We believe if our concerns are fair and backed by data, SEBI is always there to listen to us.
Recent move by SEBI on TER, a number of reports suggest is likely to increase costs for AMCs and brokers. Do you think that this will, give a push to passive style investing more as compared to, active style of investing?
So, Puneet, by active and passive, both will coexist. Now, there is a lot of misreporting that fund managers are not generating alpha. There is one agency which has been publishing this report for last 2 decades. We have in the meantime grown multiple times. Active and passive, both funds will coexist, Puneet bhai. If I talk about Kotak Mutual Fund across almost all our equity and hybrid funds, we have added value vis-a-vis benchmark indices over most of the periods. There are few periods where we may not have added value, but overall we are adding value to customer. And hence investors in our active funds will continue. Now, if we don't add value, then customer has all the right to move towards passive fund. So my feeling is that active and passive both will coexist.
So are the markets being over-optimistic about the global macroeconomy and how the central banks may respond to the headwinds?
So clearly markets have recovered with the assumption that inflation will come down. And all the central banks around the world and independent are saying that inflation is likely to be sticky. Now we have to see whether markets will win or central bankers will win. Today, markets have priced in that central bankers will have to cut rates. They will take rates higher, but they will not stay there for longer. And it is easier to say why markets are believing that. US has 120% debt to GDP ratio. Europe is no different. Japan is no different. Their economies have never seen higher interest rates. So can they afford higher interest rates and crush their economy into recession? Answer is unlikely. It's a battle between market and central bankers. My feeling is that central bankers will walk left and talk right. They'll keep on saying that we are not going to cut interest rates, but eventually the debt burden will push them to cut interest rates.
Thanks, Nilesh, for joining us today. We hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
February saw one of the sharpest market capitalization declines in the history of Indian stock markets. While markets have recovered from the shock delivered by Hindenburg Research, Adani Group stocks haven't. One of the main allegations leveled by the short seller against the Adani Group was that it indulged in price rigging. But what is it? Tariq Ahmed decodes it for you.
The Hindenburg Research report on the Adani Group in late January alleged that the fair value of the group's stocks should be significantly lower, among other allegations. This led to a crash in Adani stocks. On May 6th, an expert committee set up by the Supreme Court of India exonerated the regulator, SEBI, on price manipulation of Adani stocks. But what is price manipulation? In simple words, it is the act of inflating stock prices artificially by manipulators to achieve higher profit. Price rigging of stocks is an illegal activity and often difficult for the regulator to find out and prove, while SEBI boasts of its robust capabilities in using artificial intelligence and machine learning to track such rigging. Their efficacy is still unknown. Price rigging usually involves attempts to drive the price of shares as high as possible. This is achieved through operators or a group of people buying and selling bulk stocks of a company and circulating them between themselves. At times, promoters of the company are also a part of this. They announce big contract wins, future plans, etc. to create fake optimism. This lures retail investors with the expectation that the stock prices will go higher. Once the stock value reaches a particular threshold, operators and promoters dump their shareholdings, thereby bagging high returns at the expense of retail investors. It's often called the pump and dump strategy. Price rigging is suspected when the stock value of a company starts heading north in a short period of time. This can be further clarified by looking at the competitors' stock values. If there is a stark difference between the price of a particular company and other players in the same sector, one can suspect that the stock price is rigged. Losing investors often point at price rigging as a reason for their loss, among other things. And they are not always wrong. If you are a retail investor, stay away from unsolicited stock tips, fake news, and promotional events. Market experts suggest retail investors should be careful before investing large sums in stocks that are rocketing higher. They recommend one should do his or her own research and adopt a systematic investment approach.
I'm backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.
Gautam Adani net worth soared to $64.2 billion last week, catapulting him to 18th spot in the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. That is all for today. For more news, views and insights, follow and subscribe to Business Standard. If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.